What's up, OOUXers? Sophia here. I have not posted to YouTube in a really long time, except for posting our happy hour recordings. I'm trying to get back into it. It's actually going to be a big initiative for me in 2023. I feel like I say that every year, but I get so many interesting questions and I put those answers in an email, or I keep finding unintuitive objects, shapeshifters, that kind of thing. And I'm creating all this content, but a lot of it I'm not sharing. So I don't know. I've got a lot of weirdness about YouTube. I don't know, fear or something. Even though I do a lot of public speaking, I don't know. YouTube freaks me out a little bit. But anyways, I'm here. I want to start some of the questions that I get in the masterclass. I'm in the OUX masterclass, and when people are emailing me with their questions, people from my workshops. And then also I want to post more on shapeshifters and masked objects and all those unintuitive objects. So anyways, what we want to talk about today is this great question that I got from Jessica. Hi, Jessica, on applying OOUX to wizards. So she works at a large telecom company, and they just did an OOUX workshop, and she's interested in how she can apply OOUX to the recommendation wizard that she's working on. And so the recommendation wizard, kind of what it does is it's helps companies, I think it's more of a B2B thing, helps companies decide which plan to get. So they go through these questions, they answer the questions, and then the tool recommends a plan, a service plan. So I was like, I really have to play this out because I actually hadn't applied OOUX to wizards. But what I say is OOUX can apply to basically anything. It can apply to game design. It can apply to life. It can really, I have not found anything that it doesn't apply to. So I was like, I got to play this out myself. So here is my little mini object map, and I'm just going to walk you through this, what I did here. So one of the questions that Jessica had is she was trying to figure out what the objects are. That's where we started, is what are the objects? And one of the questions she had was, well, kind of the questions that we ask about your employees, we ask about kind of the devices that you might need. So are employees and devices objects, or companies are those objects? And for this particular scenario, no, I don't think so. And why? Why would those not be objects within the system? Because they're not really instantiated. It's not like the user is going in and saying, okay, I have 200 employees and now let me go and type all of those employees in. So we've got Joe Schmo and we've got Jane Smith, and they're not going to go through and write all those down. So we're not actually adding instances into the system. So yes, those are concepts that may be included within the questions, but probably, and just from the context that I've gotten from Jessica, it sounds like no, that probably those are not going to be objects. So the objects that I came up with, another one is wizard is the actual tool. Is that an object in the system? And actually, I would say yes, because probably they're going to be creating multiple of these. So we come back to, and we're thinking about, is it an object? We come back to structure, instances, and purpose, SIP, all right? And then you can do a cheers when you find an object. So when I'm looking at instances, I'm thinking that probably they're going to have multiple of these tools. Now, if you're just designing the one tool, and there's never going to be instances of it, then I wouldn't model it as an object when I'm object mapping. But let's just imagine in this scenario that they're going to be creating lots of these tools. They want a system so that they can have a lot of these wizards to help different kinds of users figure out the right service, or it might be the right product. It might be like, are you more of an Android or an iPhone person? Like, which actual device might be the best for you? Should I upgrade to the newest iPhone? So they could have all sorts of these wizards, not just which service plan I need. So this could actually be a whole lot broader. This might be, I don't like calling it a recommendation, because a recommendation is really this shell object that we put around the things that are being recommended, right? So this could be a service plan, a product, a bundle maybe within the system. So really what are those things that are being recommended? So I've kind of abstracted this to just recommendation. So anyway, okay, so we've got the wizard tools, all right, because we might have many of those. And then I made question and I made answer an object. And answer is going to be a local object within question. So local objects are objects that are never going to be out of context of their parent object, all right? So this is not a parent-child, this is a special type of parent-child relationship where I'm never just going to show an answer somewhere. Local objects are actually pretty rare. I'll get a lot of people thinking that stuff is local objects when actually they're not really local objects. So local objects are highly misidentified, but this is a really good example of something that would be a local object where each individual answer is only going to show up in the context of the question, right? I say that, and then over here I've got has many answers that point to this service plan. But you would always see it within the question. See, I may have misidentified a local object. Other examples of a local object, like a really clear example, would be recipe steps is one that I give all the time. So if I have a recipe, I might have steps in that recipe, and each step has its own structure. So it has the ordinal number, it has the title, maybe it has a video, maybe it even has like a level of difficulty or something of this step, and then the description of the step. So you might have some recipes that have 8 steps, some recipes that have 3 steps, but a step in the recipe is never going to kind of be taken out of the recipe out of context. It's very much within the recipe world. All right. And I believe that answer is one, but now I'm questioning it. So this is not the most important piece of this though. So, but local objects, those would be always kind of encased within its parent and they can never get out. But here I do have, but we'll get to that in a second. Okay. Maybe you can tell me, do you think it's a local object? Is it? Maybe. So we've got the wizard tool. We've got probably a title, a description, maybe some sort of graphic for it. And then it's got many questions inside of it. So question, yes, would be an object. And then within each question, I'm asking, has one-to-many wizards that it's a part of? So this brings up a really good question from a development standpoint and also from a planning standpoint. Do we plan on reusing these questions across multiple wizard tools? Like, can we configure a question and then have that question show up in wizard tool A and also wizard tool B, which might be a really smart way to build this so that we can reuse those questions. So we want to talk to the developers about that. We want to talk to the business about that, what actually makes sense. I've got a question mark there. So Jessica, that might be something to look into. Then we have the actual question text, and then we have has many potential answers. All right. Then we've got the actual answer, which is probably a local object. It has one parent question. I don't think you'd have an answer shared across multiple questions. That would be too much. I think that would be weird. Then you have your answer key, like is this A, B, C, D? Probably these are going to be mostly multiple choice questions. We didn't even get that far. Like, do we have a question type where we have like free response? That wouldn't make sense, but maybe there might be some sort of like date picker, like when do you need this service installed by or something like that. So it might not all be multiple choice. That would make it more complicated. Again, this is a very simplified object map that I spent 15 minutes on, okay, and got from one email. So lots more questions would come. So that would be another question I would ask is, do we have question types? Let's assume now that they're all multiple choice. So we've got the answer key and then the actual answer text. Then we've got something that I have black boxed here, which would be another great place to like, a lot of times this object mapping methodology like gives you hooks into questions and conversations that you need to have with different other people in your team. For example, this one would be a great conversation to have with developers. How is this scoring working? Like, how actually is the recommendation working? We don't need to understand all the ins and outs that the developer might need to understand, or even the business. Actually, we probably need to understand most of the ins and outs that the business is understanding. So we need to understand, okay, how is this recommendation system actually working? So a big black box of metadata here on the answer is probably some sort of point scoring for each of the potential recommendations. How is this actually going to work? So if I answer this, is it going to start weighting me toward this plan versus that plan? Is it going to, if I answer let's say I answer that I have less than 5 employees. Is it going to eliminate some of the service plans because I need more employees? So how is that actually going to work? So there's probably going to be some sort of point scoring here, which is going to be a lot of, probably blown out to a lot more pieces of metadata and a lot more conversations. And then also has many plans that this answer points to. So this probably won't just be one. So let's say, for example, instances help to do the storytelling. So if the question is, how many employees are at your organization? And the answers might be 1 to 5, 6 to 20, 20 to 100, 100 plus, or something like that. Those might be some of the ranges. So those might be instances of answers within that question. If I answer 5 to 20, is it going to say, okay, here's plan A, B, or C might work, but we're going to eliminate plan D? Okay, and then I get to the next question, and so it's kind of like triangulating a plan for me. I want to know a little bit more about how that works. But I think that every answer is probably going to have many plans that work with that answer. So if I have 10 employees, here's the 6 plans or the 3 plans that work if I have 10 employees, okay? And then we have the actual service plan recommendation that probably has a name, a price, I'm black boxing this, etc. Probably a service plan has a whole litany of attributes, most likely upwards of 20, 30 attributes, right, Jessica? It's got a lot of attributes. But for this particular model that I'm making, I don't necessarily need to list all of the attributes right here. I'm just going to say there's a lot more attributes, right? But what I really want to look at here is the fact that the service plan has many answers that point to it. And at first I was thinking, okay, that would be something that would just be admin facing, like the end user. Oh, forgot to turn my time off. Skip. Time to do yoga. That would not be, interrupted me right in this difficult thought. That would be something that might be admin only. So I might see, okay, for this service plan, here's all the answers that like you need to have 5 to 10 employees, or you need to have upwards of $1 million in revenue a year, or something like that. Like all the things that would make that plan a good fit. Okay. But then I was thinking, maybe it's not just admin only. If I get that recommendation, it might be interesting to show me the answers that I selected, right? This is one of those trust things to show the reason why this plan was selected. I feel like a lot of these wizards that I do, not that I'm doing a lot of wizards, but when I go through these kind of recommendations, I kind of wonder, like, how did you come up with this recommendation? Andrew Hinton talks about this in his book, Understanding Context. We try to, in the name of simplicity, hide a lot of rules from the end user. So we tend to say, oh, the user doesn't need to know that because it's going to be too complicated. But sometimes it's actually, there's more cognitive load in the user not being able to see those hidden rules because they don't understand, okay? Like for example, when Instagram changed their algorithm and they changed their timeline and they introduced an algorithm instead of just being a timeline. A lot of people were really upset about that because they didn't understand why they were seeing something from 2 weeks ago, because now we kind of are okay with it, and I guess the algorithm, we're just sort of rolled over and accepted the algorithm. But a lot of people are really upset because of those hidden rules. So anyways, that's a long way of saying maybe this would be actually good to be user facing, to say, here's why we selected this plan for you. It's because these are what your answers were, and this is going to be the perfect plan for you. That would be interesting also to maybe do some A/B testing on, showing that versus not showing that information, and seeing how many more people sign up for that plan if they get to see that information. So anyways, I hope that was helpful, Jessica, and to anybody else watching. If this helps you to kind of see how an object map is broken down and how I might solve a problem, let me know in the comments. Was this helpful? Do you have any other questions? And I'm I'm going to try to make more videos. Maybe up my production and not just do it in Loom, but Loom is so easy. So anyways, happy OOUXing, and hopefully I'll see you soon.